This poor Steve just refuses to sleep, so these flying, death-breathing, undead phantoms are chasing him. And this is that same iconic scene recreated with motorized Lego parts, complete with a flying phantom chasing Steve, who runs around madly dodging water and lava, but clearly not spending any time sleeping in his bed. If you've seen my other recent Minecraft videos, you'll love this one. I started by building Steve. No, way bigger than that one. Still larger. That's the one. This mechanism is hidden inside that allows him to swing his arms while his legs are running, just like in Minecraft. Now for the head. With that looking awesome, it was time to tackle the Phantom. Making a flying Phantom out of Lego bricks was tricky, but thankfully not impossible. Here's how it came together. The Phantom's wing has two distinct segments, and its tail does also. This small model shows how I attempted to achieve that motion. Any movement in the first segment is copied to the second segment because of this gear rotating around this other fixed gear. The motion is quite good, but there was unequal amounts of gear tooth backlash for each wing, so this wasn't going to cut it. So I switched to a design with equal backlash and figured I could transmit motion with these cylinder-like pieces. This design was definitely getting somewhere. I even created the tail proof of concept too. The only problem was how small everything was. I wasn't going to be able to create a good looking Phantom like this. That's when I scaled up the design. But that would mean using these huge gears. Instead of those gears, I designed a better approach using a chain, which keeps the gears at this size no matter the size of model. I was sure this was it. Even the tail is looking better. Nothing else could go wrong, right? Well, it turns out these gear teeth kept slipping because the wings were too heavy due to the large size. I only had two options left. One, use a linkage. Nope, that usually threw the wings way too far. Or two, support the Phantom from above and use a system of pulleys, reels, and hopefully invisible string to achieve the desired motion. I picked that option. Taking all that I had learned from my failed designs, I created this. You're gonna love it. Not only does it look really good, but it also has the hidden wing and tail functionality that will make all the motorized reels jobs really easy. With Steve built and a Phantom to chase him, I was off to build some Minecraft terrain that loops forever, so it really looks like Steve is running like crazy to avoid the Phantom. Sections of water, dirt blocks, grass blocks, lava, and sand were added to make a varied terrain. With that done, I was ready to create a structure on which to attach everything and the motors to run them. I threw down some tiles for the terrain to run smoothly over, and then started preparing the sprockets for the terrain tracks. Train tracks? Terrain tracks. Huh, right. Subscribe? Anyways, I made this frame heavy duty to handle the weight of all the tracks, lift arms, pins, and plates. Two large walls were used to attach it to the main base plate. It was time to install the tracks. Turns out I was overzealous in my design, and so I had to get rid of some tracks from each side. Remember, Steve is much larger than usual, so the whole middle portion is just 1 block wide in Minecraft, and I chose to show half of each block to the left and right, just to give more detail. Finally, they were connected together to create some endless terrain for Steve to run over. The next thing to do was motorize the terrain. I used 2 old NXT motors coupled through a differential to significantly increase torque without reducing speed. This terrain is supposed to breeze by because Steve will be running away from a phantom. You can see how when the motors run together, it works much better than with just one. Needing some extra room, I added a couple more small base plates to the main one. It was time to build a very tall yet durable frame to hold up both Steve and the Phantom, and create a place to attach all of the pulleys for the Phantom's movements. Yeah, the frame's gonna have to be taller than that. Structures aren't my specialty, but adding these lift arms to make triangles makes this act kind of like a truss, I think. Structural engineers, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. If I'm right, you should subscribe, and if I'm wrong, you should definitely subscribe. Yep, okay. Glad we cleared that up. A nighttime vibe would really make this scene. I added a moon, clouds, stars, and a perspective shot of faraway hills and trees, and one more key item, Steve's bed that's very clearly not being used. Now our frame just needed supports on the sides and more truss-like thingies. And of course, a top to connect all the frame sections together. Attaching Steve was next on the to-do list. One change I made was to add 2 transparent round bricks because all the corners on the arms and legs kept catching. Now they don't. I also used some of these cool transparent lift arms to make it appear that Steve isn't being supported at the top, but rather standing on the ground. Of course, there's actually a tiny gap. More structural supports. And okay, it was time to motorize Steve so he could run away. I made this section out of black, gray, and white parts to hide it against the night picture we just made. As this piece oscillates, the mechanism inside Steve will cause him to run. Adding a motor finished this part up. He's running a little slowly, but I'll speed it up as much as I can in the program. All I needed was a motorized reel. I built 4 of these and mounted them to the back frame. I attached the controllers and some sensors during this process too, since the Phantom would need to initialize every time it started up. I actually considered using light sensors instead of touch sensors, but the alignment during initialization really wasn't as good. I also experimented with different lengths of offsets from the touch sensors, but just a single transparent round brick was sufficient. Now, back to the exciting part of the Phantom attachment. This build is all possible with Lego brand string, but I decided on some clear fishing line to make the Phantom really look like it's flying. The fishing line is 0.15 millimeters in diameter, which is so small. Yeah, you can't really even see it here. I got a green base plate to show you. I wrapped 7 of these Lego reel pieces with the fishing line and got the Phantom attached, including the reels on the motor subassemblies in the back. Attaching the Phantom was really rewarding. Just wait until you see this thing chase Steve, flying up and down and flapping its wings and tail. You can see what happens as I manually rotate each of these motors. I'm not a good puppeteer, but I'm an alright engineer, which makes me a much better puppeteer if you know what I mean. I finished up by plugging in wires, building a case, and covering the rest of the mechanisms. The Phantom will initialize by using the touch sensors to align its front and back halves for level flight. At last, it was ready to run. During flight, the tail will do 2 beats for every 1 beat of the wings, just like in Minecraft, and the speeds are the same too. The Phantom will hover, flapping its wings a random number of cycles, and the tail always keeps in sync. Then suddenly, the Phantom will swoop to a new height, presumably to monitor Steve, or to attack. You can almost see the terror on Steve's face, his mouth open in a silent scream. Okay, I admit that was dramatic. Here's some footage of just Steve and the ground. Looks pretty real to me. And also some footage of just the Phantom at 10 times speed. All of those pulleys are super satisfying to watch. And seeing the motors do their job is pretty fun too. It looks great with the case on, but you also need to see that infinite ground break away, not to mention the differential and the oscillating mechanism to make Steve run. I want to keep creating these videos for you. The best way you can help me is by sharing this video on your social media. You're the reason videos go viral. Check out my other Minecraft builds too. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment to let me know you watched. Thank you so much.